So today I want to talk about news silos. Now, if you follow my other channel, which to be honest, at this point in Flyover State's life, almost everyone, if not everyone who follows Flyover States probably listens to the YouTube channel Moore's Law is Dead or the podcast Broken Silicon. You know, there's also the podcast Die Shrink. If you listen to those formats that I've been, shooting out there, you would know that I talk about journalism and I do a big attack on these websites, WCCF Tech, which, to be fair, no one would be surprised I attack them, but also Tech Power Up, Tweaktown, all of these other channels people quote constantly, or should I say websites, that quote each other in a circular, it's not a circular firing squad, but I would call it a circular suicide squad, where one person says something and then they all quote each other in a circle. And I point out in this video, the Zen Conspiracies, that this is the death of tech journalism. And many people aptly point out in the comments, this is the death of all journalism. I'm aware of that. I'm aware this is the death of all journalism if this continues. And so I want to talk about that a little bit. Just brainstorming on a solution. The point of Flyover States is just, the tagline is political views across the U.S. Points of view from someone who isn't always on the coasts. But I would hope, no matter where you are in the world, you would notice this problem we have where, again, to quote my video, the Zen Conspiracies, I point out that Tech Power Up literally had like 3 sources in an article. One of the sources was where the article they were quoting, WCCF Tech, and then the other article was Hardware Lux. Hardware Lux was the original article. So they said they had 3 sources. One was bullshit. One was quoting another article, and that article was misquoted. They quoted this article saying that this was a rumor when really it was an opinion piece in German. They didn't even bother to read it. They used Google Translate and looked at the title, and they stopped. And that's what WCCF did, who they quoted. This is insane. And this is what I keep seeing in all journalism right now. There just seems to be a problem, right, where news channels are trying to get views. Views mean money. Money funds the journalists, the operation. And if that's how this system works, they need to get clicks, or at least that's what they think. But I wonder how many of these websites and newspapers understand that it's almost all short term if you resort to anything but good journalism. And I've noticed this in a lot of YouTube channels too, in the tech space. Tech tubers, that they're called, will do an article, it'll get a bunch of clicks, and then in about a month, they will just get nothing. And they'll say, oh, it's because the YouTube algorithm. Oh, it's because people, whatever. And it's like, no, it's because over time they realize you're full of shit. I'll be honest, I've been full of shit before, and I've had to atone for the times I've been full of shit. But news websites never seem to do that, and then they all quote each other. And if they're all full of shit, if they all quote each other, who is telling the truth anymore? I don't want to have to rely on, like, Joe Rogan interviews and, like, these, I forgot their names, but these other reporters on YouTube who just do somewhat clickbaity opinion pieces every day on YouTube hoping to get ad revenue. And then I have to guess which videos I should watch, which one's worth watching. I don't want that. I want to keep going to CNN. CNN used to be good, but I got to admit, it's like it's like MSNBC on meth right now. And I will say Fox News rarely lies, but they report what they want to report for what their goal is. What do we do from this point forward? the solution that comes to mind for me is that there needs to be good managers at all of these news sites that tell everyone to stop reading each other's news. Stop. Just stop reading it. And then once a month, or maybe once every 2 weeks, we'll say every fortnight, right? That's a good term. People wonder why fortnight sticks around. It's because, well, every 15 days is a useful interval. So every fortnight, 1 day more than every 2 weeks, maybe every news site checks each other's stuff. And they make responses and they double check their sources. But I'm not sure if they don't do that, the news won't kill itself. And I guess don't worry, if it kills itself, there will be good YouTubers and podcasters who take up the torch, but I just don't think it's necessary. And it's hard. I know it's hard. It's hard to not look, but there should just be a policy at these news sites to not look at each other's stuff. Do their own reporting. Find their own sources. There needs to be this rat race for finding your own sources, your own people you talk to, that you have to vet yourself, that you aren't using other news sites. If we had that happen, and then every 2 weeks, every fortnight, they checked each other's work, maybe the news would become competition again. Because right now what we have is not competition between news sites. What we have is competition for clicks, and then news comes second. And it's just not working anymore. And people know it's not working, whether they admit it or not, and so they're not watching the news anymore. It's how this crazy shit going on in the world keeps going on. So maybe that's the solution. Outside of that, most people, I think, fixate on incentives. How do we incentivize these news sites to report well? I'm not sure. Honestly. I can't imagine how. Right now, the solution seems to be letting Jeff Bezos buy the Washington Post and other billionaires buy newspapers and their websites as trophies and then compete with each other to get more awards. I guess that's a short-term solution. I guess there will always be a need for good news for some people, and so someone will buy it. But I feel like there just needs to be a new incentive structure. There just needs to be. At a certain point, I think we just need mankind to evolve and only support news that has good sources. That's something I'm trying to do on Moore's Law is Dead from now on. If I see a thing from WCCF, I'll go to the original source and I'll check that, and then I'll just use that as my source and not give them credit, because it's time we as people decide, I think. Do we want good reporting or not? Do we want there to be a reward for people who put in the effort? Because right now there is no reward, and I want there to be a reward. Unfortunately, I think it's only 10 to 20% of the solution is us news readers, viewers, watchers, seizing the moment ourselves, only looking at the original source. That's what I'm going to do. But the other 80%, I'm not sure what happens. But I do suggest you guys stop reading each other's shit, because it's clearly useless. There's no point in you reading each other's news and having a circular, and it's not a circular firing squad, it's a circular suicide squad, where all of your reporting is called into question every time you do this. I know it's tempting. So I guess that's how I'll end this. I know it's tempting, but just please stop. And I'll try to do a better job of only reading and reporting and quoting what I know is good. All right. Thanks, everyone. Flyover States, political views across the U.S. is brought to you by me, Tom, of Moore's Law is Dead and Flyover States. If you like my content, please consider supporting me on Patreon. You can find Flyover States there, and there will be a link in the description. I don't have any fancy tiers or goals, just the assumption that if you like my content, you'll pay me for what it's worth. That's all it's there for. It really does go a long way.